Hey, what's up, YouTube? You ain't got brake lights? Well, I got one of them that ain't working either. So I'm going through the process of replacing parts that should have just been replaced anyway. Here's a little bit of information on these ones. So you've got one for the one side and one for the other. So you'll have a left and a right. These circuit boards. So you'll have your. I thought maybe, she got a little bit corroded in there, but that doesn't seem to be the case because I changed those. I changed these lenses because they're looking, kind of seen better days, kind of like my tail light or tailgate there. Get these tail lights going, and what I ended up doing is I ended up getting a harness. You can get a section for the rear here. And I knew that those pins that I plugged into didn't quite look too good. So I originally started by changing out this plug. And now I need to change out this plug as well. And I'm just backing up a step anyway and just replacing this wiring harness here. So I recommend if you live kind of where I do and you would have seen, some of these other wires that I removed, you might want to be doing this too. So first things first, I'm going to want to end up picking up another plug. Hey, kitty. I'm going to want to pick up another plug because I'm going to need to tie in there anyway because I just know it's going to be bad. So if you're wanting to do this, I really recommend changing out these boards because, these are probably the original ones. So now I'll at least have a spare for each. These tail lights, as a review on them, I don't know, I've had them quite a while, and anyway, they seem to last for being cheap one. They're not the prettiest, but they're all right. I'm going to get to doing this wiring harness, and if I come up with anything that might help, I'll fill you in. Now, knowing what we're diving into here, pretty much going to need some side cutters and a flathead. So I'll go through and start cutting some zip ties and go from there. Now, here we are under the back passenger side. So basically, you're going to want to take your tail light out, unplug your wire so you can get her to come down here. Now, on this end, you can see way up there, that little plastic piece there. So we're going to want to squeeze her in on each side. That way we can get to pop out. And then you'll just do that all along up through the back of this. Now this was cut and tied into. So this is probably good that we're going to remove all of this anyway. Now be aware you're going to have ground somewhere up in there. You're going to have to unbolt from this harness. So I'll show you that when we get there. Now go through and just cut everything. No, just every zip tie, not everything. But you're gonna get into here and you're gonna have a spot where she plugs in, like right there. So unplug what you can, and make a note of where everything is. You may want to leave those clamps in place, and that's what I'm going to choose to do because it is easy to squeeze that. It's easier to do that usually, but if you look here, I want to reuse these. So if you get in there with the flat blade, it'd be hard to do through the camera, but just give her a little twist and that'll pop that out of there. And then you'll be able to release your wire. Now, again, I'm going to get up there and take that tail light out. So you got to drop the tailgate and then you'll be able to get in there. All right, now to remove these. You got a Phillips, at least I got a Phillips, there and there. The little girl's getting rusty. Zip them out. Come on. Work. Just try not to drop the screw. Put them babies in there. Okay. So this is all new here. Well, you know, like new. And I want to get the snow and ice and stuff out of there. So I'm going to take this baby in the house and let that thaw out. Make sure to put a little bit of fresh grease on them. Anyway, let's get this wire pulled down. Okay. Gonna want to do the same over here. Before we get too far, let's check our harness here. Right now, I'm just assuming this end goes on this side. I didn't get to that ground just yet, but if there's not a ground, we're gonna make a nice grounding position there for it. And then here is the central plug. That's where it didn't look too good on my other plug there. So anyway, that's why I'm doing this job. And then here is that one I thought I didn't quite need for sure. So that's pretty simple, and that's why I'm thinking it goes like it goes here. And then this plug obviously will go to that side. Right, now we'll unplug this side. And then if you were to do this, looks like we got brown, green, yellow, black. So if you were to do this, these wires that you get are not colored anymore. So it's up to you to figure out what is what. But you can pretty much be certain the green, the black here is no longer a green or whatever, but that black would be your ground or earth, right? And then these are obviously a power source of whether it's a brake, turn, flash, whatever. There's no grease in these, so I'm definitely going to want to put some grease in the end of those. And again, I'm going to get this in the house so it'll dry out, but we'll be back. Now you'll probably have the same situation where you can't really get at that clip in there. So I had to pop this out. That way I can spin this around, because there's all kinds of dirt and good stuff in there. But I know this is not the greatest lighting. But you want to get under this tab and kind of twist. Just give her a little twist there. Show you better here. So all you're trying to do really is lift this right here, this little tab. You're just trying to lift right there, the tip of my finger. So that way it'll unhook and just open it up. Now, unlike the last time, I'm gonna end up putting this in this way, so that way it's easier to get at. Poor old girl is awfully rusty. Okay, so now I'll be able to open it from this side since it's spun around. Now I got this ground unhooked, and as you can see, it's really rusty. So you're gonna want to disconnect all this, clean the bolt, clean all those connections, and then pretty much get that down to bare metal the best you can. And then I would recommend, if you're in a area where it's gonna get rusty, I would put dielectric grease, and then on the bare metal parts, in between everything, dielectric grease, tighten her all together. When you get everything done, give her a quick coat of paint, and anyway, that should help it from corroding and rusting. So, all right, we'll be back. Now, we may have got to a point where you're gonna look at this and go, no way, I ain't messing with that. Well, I ended up having to remove this trailer plug because it's hardwired into that harness. This does not accommodate for that. Now, it does have this main plug, okay, that goes up front, And it does have this small plug. And that is that one. And it looks to be the same for the driver's side. They both appear to be the same, but this has its own independent ground. This did not. This whole side over here, same thing. They matched, but there's no independent ground from the factory. This one does have a different ground, so you're gonna have to ground this side. You'll have to put your own ground in over there as well, and then this will plug in. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tear into this old harness and tie these wires into those wires, because I'm gonna wanna use that plug again. But I'm gonna go get a new plug before I do. Real quick on this, so you've got black, yellow, green, and then brown, right? So here, so the black will still be black, but we'll have to figure out the yellows, the green. So that's kind of the fun part there. So I really need to split this harness. I hate it when they do that. So that's gonna be fun. Now I'm gonna try to do this real quick, this wiring. You might look at it and go, man, that's a mess. How are you gonna quickly add a trailer plug into a new taillight harness and tie it all together quickly? The way I'm gonna do it here is I have this here from O'Reilly's. There's your part number 47108. And what I'm gonna do is I have an adapter in there that is a T for the 4-wire. And you just unplug right here, plug in the T, and that will allow you to have a plug for right here to just plug into. So instead of cutting into, like I did years ago, or whoever did, I can't remember, but you know, once you cut into that, and you kind of compromise the wires. And so I'm gonna try to just plug it in, tape it up really well. I mean, then if there's ever an issue, it's gonna be at that connection. Now what you could do is cut both plugs off and hardwire it. But you know, maybe we'll do that, we'll see. So first step, we wanna mount this on the vehicle and get that ready to plug into all that, or we could simply just get this harness going. So I think I'm just gonna get this harness up in there where it needs to go. Get my grounds, there's a ground there, and on the other end there's another ground on the new harness. So I'm going to want to clean up those grounds really well. And obviously none of this harness matters anymore, because we're going to have this plugging into there. So again, you'll have your driver's light on the tail light, and then you've got your passengers on the other side, and then you got a couple plugs in the middle. So it's really not that difficult. Now, if I would have read the package, it probably would have said somewhere on there that it actually comes with a mounting bracket in here. So I didn't need to buy this bracket, but it'd be nice to have one on hand, because I can't remember if this truck needed a new one or not, but either way, we'll have a spare one now. So basically, just get this on your bracket, get your bracket mounted, and then we'll worry about this plug when we go to wire in that to this. Again, it's just going to be simply plugging that in. Now, when you mount this, you're going to want to position it however you're going to want to position it on however you're putting it on your vehicle. But what you're going to want to do is open your door and get your bolts started through. I just did one at a time and held it. Then put your washer, you know, your flat washer, your lock washer, and then the nut, and go through and do the next and the next until you get them all. And then it gives you some dielectric grease there. So they're calling it your terminal grease. So put your terminal grease on all those different pins. You might even want to, I prefer to spurt it into each of the little tabs there. Obviously the metal ones are the ones you're mostly concerned about, but it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit in some of the other ones as well. So I'm not gonna put it in this plug just yet because I don't want it bouncing around on the floor and get stuff in it. So I'm just gonna put that back. And but I will put a little bit on these pins just because they're right here right now before I mount it up in there. Now run your wire. I'm starting it on the driver's side, up and over this way. The plug didn't look like the right one on the inside of there because it was flat. I might show you that here in just a second, but I almost cut that plug and wired on the other plug, and then I got to looking, that's the same plug as... Anyway, don't overthink it. It's not that difficult of a job. Just make sure you get your clips in. All right, so now my wire's in there. So we'll pop in this tail light. So you hook this, couple little hooks there. There's one, there's the other one. All right, so get them in and then just run your screws in. So we'll get this side together, fish our wire the rest of the way, tie it in over there. Here we have the harness. So this is pretty much the whole thing except for this, what we've got started here. So I've got the end with this one wire here with the double plugs. This is on the driver's side, okay? So you're gonna wanna fish over the plug for the tail light, and then over here, okay? You're gonna have that ground. Sorry about the lighting here, I'm outside. So anyway, you're gonna fish over the frame up here, your wire, that ground. Okay, so start on this side of the frame, fish it up. You can do it however, you know, but so far this has been obviously, you know, pretty good plan. So now we're gonna take this and just fasten it up as we go along. And then when we get to this other end, we're gonna want to do the same. We're gonna fish it up and over to the other side, and be careful of your ground. Sounds like it's already here. Sweet. So we got our ground over here now. Now this wire goes up to the truck battery, so you're not going to have this big old plug, so you don't need to worry about all that. So again, we're just going to fasten it right back up in place where it goes. Turn that. And I know I'm right in the way in a lot of the shots, but you know, there's not much that you can do sometimes when you're doing this stuff, especially when you're doing it one-handed. So obviously we're going to want to plug this one back in. I don't know if I can do this one-handed. We'll see. What? I should probably put some grease in there though. That would be the smart thing to do, but so anyway, you're just going to want to keep fastening everything up. But for this trailer plug, okay, so this is the plug that comes from the front of the truck. So there's this little splitter, right? You can take your splitter here. Oh man, my camera's messed up here. Hold on. This might help. So you got this splitter here, okay? So you can take your harness and just plug that splitter into this harness, okay? Oh, I got it spun around the wrong way. So now that's plugged in. This is all plugged in back the way it was. These are for the trailer brakes. So I can hook these to this trailer plug whenever I start to wire that. But so I plugged in this T here with this 4-wire. So now we'll literally just plug in that plug into this, and then it's wired And then when I double check, make sure everything works, I'll probably end up just cutting this, because this has a 4-way plug into it as well. So we won't even need to use this anymore. So now I'm just going to get fastening this up and then plug in that tail light on that side and get all these grounds hooked up. So now we have here on the passenger side the last bit of grease, and we'll squirt some grease in them terminals and then we'll plug it in. So I'll show you that real quick when I get it spurted in there. Now I literally will put this baby right in there, spurt it on in there, but you'll see there's some extra, and you can tell I didn't get that one totally full, and you don't need to get them crazy full, but you're going to want to wipe off all this extra, because you don't want this grease connecting to that grease, you know, and just have a mess everywhere. So anyway, make sure you clean off that little extra bit. So I'm going to plug this in and then fasten that all back in. Now these grounds, obviously you want to hit that area with the old wheel and clean this up real nice. And then I'm going to take that ground wire from up there and just bolt it in with this group of million wires here too. But it shouldn't be quite as bad. I had to eliminate some of the wires from the way it was wired before. So this is actually going to be wired a lot nicer. I might wire this, the rest of the trailer brake stuff up as well. But I think I'm going to actually plug this in before I clean that up, because I don't want to be throwing stuff in there with all that grease. So let me grab that plug real quick. I got a bunch of grease squirted in there. I'm gonna plug this in. Ground is gonna go with the rest of the grounds. We got 3 wires there that for now I'm not gonna hook up to anything, so I'm gonna tape those off and put them to the side. But this end is all greased and ready to go into that greased end. So we're gonna just hook it up, test them, make sure it all works good, and then I'm just gonna hardwire these ends together eventually, probably, maybe. Now when it comes to your ground, you can either go onto a bracket that goes to the frame or onto the body. I don't really like poking holes into my body. It's thin enough as it is. So I cleared a spot, drilled a hole, and then we're gonna hook it onto there. But I've got this self-tapper, and instead of just, you know, running it in with the drill, I'm gonna run it in first and then put the wire in. That way I don't accidentally catch the wire and spin it around, you know. So now we got our grease and a new screw. So I'm gonna spread some grease on there and then just run that wire onto it. And then after I get done, I'll come out with a spray can and just give it a quick little spray, so that way it's not bare paint there. I had it wired, and then I had to unhook it, because instead of zip tying it, I just routed it around that way. That way when I get slush and stuff packing up in here, it's only going to stick to this little spot rather than hanging way out like that. So that's good enough for what I want. Again, I'm going to hit that with a quick spray of paint after I get this other ground done. Still need to zip everything up with the zip ties, but my battery's probably dead. We'll see. It's got everything hooked up now. Oh, I hear something. Might be enough for some lights. So there's left turn signal. Nothing. All right, left turn signal. Okay, right turn signal. Okay, hit the brakes. Turn off the turn signal. Let off the brake. Hit the brake. Sweet. All right. Looks like we fixed our tail lights. You know, eventually, obviously, I can test this plug. But, you know, we got our new plug on there. We got a, 4-pin connector as well. So, all new, ready to go. You obviously got to get under there and zip tie all that. Hey, Lizzie girl. Zip tie all that up in there. But before that, though, I'm going to finish that, but I'm going to get under there and start pulling off and pulling apart all of these brakes, get these axles out, so I can get the new backer plates. But if you want to see any of that, then stay tuned, because I'm going to throw all that into a new video. But anyways, as always, thanks for watching. Take care.